We're thrilled to have the day after calling the game on CBS with the Patriots beating the Rams, Jim Nantz here on the Rich Eisen Show. How are you, Jim?
I am well, and just like you, I hurried home as fast as I could, so I just got on the ground here in California, and I'm delighted to talk to you.
I appreciate that, Jim. I appreciate that. So what do you take away from Super Bowl 53, Jim?
I can't. I had very little rest last night. You
Right.
can relate to that. I've been, of course, circling in my mind so many thoughts about the game. It was so bizarre, odd, strange, unlike anything I think I've ever seen in a football game. It was just not what anyone expected. Hey, tip of the hat here to Bill Belichick, and I think that was perhaps his finest hour, maybe his finest game plan ever. And I don't want to shortchange while I'm at it, Brian Flores, but we all know Bill never gave away the defensive coordinator title this year because he is the coordinator. And I was at practice this week, and I saw it at work, and Flores is right there with him, but Bill is in the middle of it all. And, I mean, what a tremendous game plan he put together to completely bring to a screeching halt an offense that was just packed full of power and speed and all kinds of punch, and it just was non-existent. How about this one?
Yes.
We had, for the game, one snap in the red zone for the game. One.
And it was the touchdown.
Now, tell me, that was a touchdown run by Sony from 2 yards out. Now, tell me a game you've ever seen that had one snap from inside the 20 for both teams combined. One.
I can't recall
it's inconceivable.
I know, and remarkably, it happened 53 minutes into the game, the exact number of Super Bowls that had been played. Your numerologist's dream, 53 minutes into Super Bowl 53 is when he creased the end zone, Sony Michel. And it really was one of those games where I was expecting it, and I assume you were too, that at some point it would just, all the defensive filters would be taken off and the offense would have its say, but it really never happened.
Yeah, I thought in the second quarter, when it was 3-0, this was still going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of the game that my partner, Tony Romo, had foreshadowed at the media day. He had been asked to make a prediction on the game. Mm-hmm. Don't tell us who's going to win. That the question came from the floor. We know you can't pick a team, but just can you tell us the score? And Tony said 28-24, and the team that has 24 will have the ball at the end and be stopped. I thought that was still possible. I wasn't trying to call him out on it or make him look bad. I know some snarky people out there try to make something out of that, but the reality was we had a game similar in flow at Kansas City 2 weeks before, and that was a 14-0 game. And you never would have imagined that it would be a 37-31 final in the end. That's what I still thought we were heading toward, was a game that was going to be in the 20s. Maybe somebody would touch 30, and this thing would open up, but it never did.
Did you get a sense at all? Because to me, Jim Nantz here on the Rich Eisen Show, we may never get an answer to the question about Todd Gurley. What did you glean throughout the week about his preparedness, readiness, health, anything, Jim?
All I got was everyone told me he was fine. Everyone. On the record, off the record. I think this is unrelated to what happened in New Orleans. I think the New Orleans thing was about his focus or lack of at the beginning of that game. The interception that bounced off his hands, another drop ball as the Rams were going in for a touchdown, could have caught it around the 15-yard line. And I think it was never called a benching. I just think that McVay lost faith in him in the NFC Championship game and got comfortable with the way Anderson was playing. Now, this one, I think this had to do with having the game plan being taken away from him, not because anyone lost faith in him. I just think the game was forced to go in a different fashion than what the Rams usually do. He still got whatever it was, 10 carries in the game. Not a lot, but it certainly had no flow to it. The Rams offense throughout. And I just think those two off performances are two different issues. And this one had more to do with what New England was throwing at him.
Jim Nantz here on the Rich Eisen Show. Just landed back on the left coast. I think he's got an appearance on DP's show at Pebble coming up later in the week. Kind enough to call into the Rich Eisen Show here the day after calling the Super Bowl. So let me ask you this one, Jim. Where does Brady rank? I mean, as we all know, you've seen great moments at Augusta. You've seen great moments in the NCAA hoops tournament. You've seen so many great moments in your broadcasting career out of those areas as well. Where does Brady rank for you?
It's a very difficult proposition to try to compare Tom Brady to Tiger Woods, for example. I mean, how do you say one's better than the other? You know, these are just such special individuals who compete at such a high level and who are just driven, insatiable appetite to try to win. They just never let go of it. And unquenchable thirst for victory. And I admire that kind of athlete that just, it's never enough. It's never enough. I mean, you would have thought that maybe this would be enough for Tom. I can't speak for him. I feel like I know him pretty well. You know him pretty well. We've covered him a long time. But, he walks off that platform last night with the Lombardi Trophy, his little girl in his arms.
It's amazing.
I mean, he convinced me he's coming back. I kind of thought maybe there might be a little wiggle room that if he won it, that this might be the right occasion, not necessarily on Sunday night to take away from the moment. But I certainly got a sense just listening to him, answering the questions that, he's definitely planning on coming back and staying with that long-range plan of quarterbacking until he's 45 years old.
Yeah, I mean, it's amazing. I guess I should ask instead of rank if you've seen any, similar traits. And you mentioned one with Tiger. I mean, the first time you handed that trophy to Brady, it was way back when he was just winning his second. And now, as you handed that one to him last night, you could say it was the second most valuable trophy, that little girl's in his arms for him, and how it all connects maybe for him. I think that he wants to keep playing while his kids remember watching Daddy win the Super Bowl, and prove how longevity is just a mindset, really, and not an age, Jim. I'm wondering what you think, having been so close up to it.
Well, let me speak here in terms of what Tom said to us when meeting with him on Wednesday. And that was discussed that when he first had the Lombardi in his hands, going back to the Super Bowl in New Orleans, Super Bowl 36, beating the Rams, who's a 24-year-old kid, didn't have, of course, a family, wasn't married. And now here he is. He's a man. He's 41. He's got father of three. He's got a beautiful family. And he said how much he enjoys being able to share this with his kids. His oldest boy is really into it now. I mean, really he takes it very personally when things. Edelman fan more than he is a fan of his dad, but his second son is not quite as into it, and the little girl, and I made a reference to this on the Victory platform last night, Rich. She would always say to Tom, he said after the game, "Hey, Daddy, I was cheering for you. I was saying, go, Daddy, go. Could you hear me?"
Oh,
and he said, "Of course I could hear you, honey." And as a father of a little girl, I just thought it was a really sweet thing. And to have little Viv in his hands last night, like you said, there's no trophy that compares to that, to having a child in your arms, especially in a moment when it's the greatest moment of triumph on the football field, merging with your greatest gift of all, your family. So I think that he is. To your point, I think this one thing that is keeping him going. Some people would say, "Hey, I want to go spend more time. I want to let go of this, and I want to devote this all my time instead of training and all that goes into it." But I think his kids are into it now.
Yeah.
I think his kids are like enjoying this life and watching their dad be, the greatest quarterback the game's ever known.
And last one for you, Jim Nantz here on the show. I really like Romo a lot, Jim. I think, and I've told you this off air, I'll tell you here too. He's like the guy at the bar. Okay, like he reacts like the guy at the bar. He knows more than the guy at the bar, but he doesn't want to make it seem like to the guy in the bar that he's not smart as him. I mean, he's terrific and all that. I'm wondering what it's like trying to get the play in and get ready for the snap, and he's predicting stuff left, right, up, and down for you.
Absolute total joy. I just love working with him, and he is a regular guy who struck it big in the NFL by working hard, undrafted. I said to Sam Farmer the other day that, Tony is a guy that carries himself with a full-blown case of undrafteditis. So everything he's going to get in his world, he's going to work for it, whether it's being a great golfer or being a quarterback who set all the Cowboy passing records or being a tremendous analyst on television. There's a part of it that comes naturally, but he's working it. And he's able to take who he is, his personality, his boyish enthusiasm, and be able to feel comfortable exposing that to the world of who he really is instead of trying to pretend he's somebody else. Instead of playing the role of an announcer, he's just being himself. And we just have had a ball for 2 years, and so darn proud of him last night. It was such an important show. It always is for anyone that gets the good fortune of being able to work in any capacity as Super Bowl. But, for Tony, we didn't have the best game. It wasn't a game that had a rhythm and flow so we could get into it like the Kansas City broadcast that we had. But he did really well, and this is just the start of a long, great career that one day, Rich,
yes,
will have him better known as the top football analyst of his time than being a quarterback for the Dallas Cowboys.
Well, I mean that's saying a lot. It'd be like Madden, right? That Madden was known more for his.
That's the comparison in terms of John outgrew his legend of being a Super Bowl winning coach and became known as John Madden, the voice of the people, the voice of the sport.
Right.
And Tony's on his way.
So you're on your way to Pebble, right? That's your next gig?
I'm on my way back home. We've got the golf tournament here this week.
Okay.
And Tony's going to be here, by the way.
Okay.
So we're going to have few dinners to sit back and
what about Belichick?
And celebrate.
What about Belichick?
Belichick's not playing this year. Bill's out this year, and I think Brady's going skiing. So they've in the past somehow they've come off of a Super Bowl game and made their way to the Monterey Peninsula to play in this thing, but not this year. And
then the tournament where I'm sure you'll be handing the trophy to John Beeline. I'm looking forward to that. That'll be great in early April.
Spoken like a true Michigan alum.
Oh, yeah.
Maybe if it's not Kelvin Sampson at the University of Houston, my school, right?
That's right. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I'm sorry about that last year.
Oh man, why are you bringing that up?
I just realized that too. But maybe see Zion at up close and personal for that Final Four that everybody's expecting. It's a great next few weeks, Jim. I look forward to it as always.
It's all good fun. I mean, you go from the Super Bowl to the Pebble Beach Pro-Am, and it's all a blessing. And I don't take it lightly. Great to be with you, my friend. Thanks
Jim,
so much.
Thanks again. You take care.
All the best.
You bet. That's Jim Nantz right here on The Rich Eisen Show.
The Rich Eisen Show, weekdays at noon Eastern on Audience.